Despite the fact that almost everyone on the planet has access to a camera today, there are a surprising number of known species that we have yet to capture on film. In this video, we're looking at 15 animals that were recently captured on camera for the first time ever. In 2010, a small brown ungulate was discovered in markets among bushmeat in Togo, Benin, and Nigeria. Walter's duiker only stands about 40 centimeters tall and was only known from the bodies that were found in markets and some skulls. In 2021, about 100 camera traps were set up around Fazao Malfakassa National Park in Togo, and researchers were ecstatic to capture the first ever photographs of wild Walter's duikers. 2 can be seen in this image, making it even more exciting. On the island of Vangunu in the Solomon Islands, reports have existed for years of an arboreal rat that's 3 times the size of a black rat and that has orange-brown fur. In 2015, a deceased animal found in a felled tree was discovered to be this elusive arboreal rat, and in 2017, the Vangunu Giant Rat was scientifically described, but no photo of it existed anywhere. In 2021, researchers set up camera traps in some of the few remaining patches of native forest and placed jars with sesame oil in them in an effort to attract the rats to the cameras. It worked, and 4 images of the species were captured. Sadly, the forests where they're found are under constant threat of being cleared for human development. In March of 2024, a Fiji-based photographer named Tom Vierus was on a trip in the mountains of eastern Papua New Guinea with the World Wildlife Fund. He snapped pictures of various birds on his trip, and when he got home, he began to sort through them. One of the pictures was of this bird, which turned out to be extremely significant. It was a new Britain Goshawk, a species of raptor which hadn't been scientifically documented since 1969 and was feared to have gone extinct. This is the first ever photograph of the species. The goshawk is so rare that even most locals didn't know that it existed. The ocean depths are full of species that haven't been seen by people yet, so with a growing amount of deep-sea exploration taking place, plenty of first photos are bound to be taken. The pointy-nosed blue ratfish was only known from the South Pacific, especially around Australia, New Zealand, and New Caledonia. The species was only known about because it had been pulled up in deep-water trawling nets. In 2009, the species was believed to have been photographed alive for the first time ever when a deep-sea autonomous submarine captured these images in the Gulf of California. In 2016, they were released to the public. While this is assumed to be the same species as the pointy-nosed blue ratfish from the South Pacific, without genetic testing, it can be hard to confirm, especially because the photos were taken so far away from the species' known range. If it isn't the pointy-nosed blue ratfish, it would actually represent an entirely new species, and still be the first photo ever taken of it. In the foothills of the Himalayas in India, Nepal, and Bangladesh lives a truly unique and rare species of hare. It's believed to only occupy an area of about 500 square kilometers, and its remaining habitat is highly fragmented and threatened. Despite being known to science for nearly 200 years, no photograph of the Hispid Hare existed until 2012. An ecological study inside Jaldapara Wildlife Sanctuary managed to produce the first ever photograph of this elusive species. Local people were contracted to drive the hares through the tall grass into nets. Over the course of 8 days, 106 drives were made. 13 hares were reported to have been seen, and only 2 were trapped and photographed, 1 male and 1 female. For decades, 2 species of sea dragon were known about from the waters off the coast of southern and western Australia, the leafy sea dragon and the weedy sea dragon. But in 2007, a new species of sea dragon washed up on the shore of the southern coast that was unlike either of the other 2 known species. It was ruby red and had practically none of the leafy appendages the other species have. In 2016, it was filmed for the first time off the coast of southwestern Australia by a team of researchers from the University of California, San Diego. The video confirmed that the species lacks the leafy appendages, and also that its tail is prehensile, much like seahorses, but unlike the other 2 species of sea dragon. In 1887, a new type of Colobus monkey from the eastern Congo was described. Known as Bouvier's red Colobus, they had reddish fur over much of the body, with a white chest and cheeks, a black brow and eye patches, and a patch of brown fur on top of the head. They were treated as a subspecies of red Colobus monkey for decades, but more recently have been reclassified as their own distinct species. They were only known from a few museum specimens, and the last confirmed sighting was in the 1970s. By the 2000s, they were feared to have gone extinct. That is until 2015, when a team of researchers managed to find the monkeys again and capture the first ever photograph of a living specimen. The picture shows a mother and her baby sitting high in a tree. In 2021, the species was also filmed for the first time ever. They're currently assessed as endangered by the IUCN. On the island of Guadalcanal in the Solomon Islands lives a large, beautiful kingfisher that has very rarely been seen. It has an iridescent blue back, tail, and wings, a light orange head and chest, and 2 bright blue stripes on either side of its face. One stripe extends from the beak and is what gives it the common name of Guadalcanal mustached kingfisher. In the 1920s, a female was collected for the first time. Then in the 1950s, more females were collected, but the males evaded researchers. After decades of searching for the elusive bird, a team of researchers found and captured a male in 2015, taking the first ever pictures of a living specimen of this species. Because no males existed in any museum collection, the male pictured was euthanized and added to one. This has been a standard practice for biologists for centuries. But when news of this rare bird being killed surfaced, there was public outcry. So much so that the scientist pictured with the kingfisher needed to make a public statement defending his actions. There remains a strong debate about the ethics of collecting rare animals for scientific purposes. Speaking of kingfishers, the Philippines is home to a small and incredibly beautiful species that has 3 subspecies. On the islands of Mindanao and Basilan lives the rarest of these 3 subspecies, the South Philippine Dwarf Kingfisher. Despite being described in 1890, it had evaded scientists for 130 years, and no photo of it existed. In 2019, a team of researchers from the Robert S. Kennedy Conservation Society traveled to Mindanao, where they managed to capture these images of a fledgling, making them the first images in the world of this beautiful subspecies of Philippine dwarf kingfisher. The species as a whole is vulnerable to extinction, as they're rapidly losing the remains of their habitat to logging, agricultural development, and mining operations. In the tropical rainforests of Central Africa lives a truly massive species of owl that's so elusive it has hardly ever been seen and never photographed. Shelley's eagle owl is one of the largest species of tropical owl in the world, having a body length of as much as 61 centimeters, which is more than 2 feet. In 2021, a team of British researchers were in Ghana surveying wildlife in the ridgetop forests of the Atewa Range Forest Reserve, when they saw what they believed to be a huge eagle fly by. It landed on a low branch of a nearby tree, so they pulled out their binoculars to get a better look. When they saw the massive beak and black eyes, they knew that this was one of the rarest owls in the world. They snapped this picture, and to date, it is the only picture of the species in the wild that exists. In 1924, a German botanist who was visiting Malaysian Borneo discovered a new species of toad. He collected 3 specimens, produced a drawing of it, and then it wasn't recorded again for 87 years. A team of researchers went looking for the species in 2011 with only the drawing and the written description as a guide. When they found it, they were amazed at how beautiful it really was. They took the first ever photographs of the Bornean rainbow toad, and now anyone can appreciate the species' beauty. It looks like moss from a distance, but up close the variety of colors are evident. It's mostly green and black, but splattered with specks of red and purple. The climbing Whorltail-Iguana is a beautiful green arboreal lizard native to the western slopes of the Andes Mountains in Ecuador. The last time it had been seen was in 1899, and beginning in the 1980s, herpetologists began searching extensively for the lizard. By the time a new book on the reptiles of Ecuador was being published in 2014, the species was feared to have gone extinct. 5 expeditions were taken to Philantomba, the last place the lizards had been seen, but none were ever found there again. Then in 2021, an Ecuadorian biologist spotted a lizard further south that he didn't recognize. It turned out to be a small population of climbing Whorltail-Iguanas, and both the males and the females were captured alive on camera for the first time ever. The species is considered critically endangered. On the quest to complete the Reptiles of Ecuador book, another lizard was rediscovered and photographed for the first time ever. Orcés Blue-Whiptail has a pointy snout, a long tail, and the males have bright blue sides and bellies. Last seen in 1959, it was missing for 60 years. Like the climbing Whorltail-Iguana, Orcés Blue-Whiptail was also known only from the western slopes of the Ecuadorian Andes. But unlike the climbing Whorltail-Iguana, some of the scientists searching for Orcés Blue-Whiptail remembered seeing it as children. Despite this, it took 10 expeditions to rediscover and photograph the species for the first time. It was found and photographed in July of 2018, and it too is considered to be critically endangered. Giant pandas have always been a rare sight in the wild. They're so rare that they feature in hardly any Chinese art before the 20th century. Famous for their black and white coloration, a brown and white subspecies is even more uncommon. But in 2019, an even rarer color variant was captured on camera for the first time. In the Wolong National Nature Reserve in China's Sichuan province, the first ever fully albino panda was photographed in the wild. Sometimes albinism makes life difficult for animals, but this panda, which experts believe to be about 2 years old, seems to be healthy and thriving. King penguins are the second largest extant species of penguin in the world. They live on sub-Antarctic islands in huge colonies that can be nearly 500,000 animals in size. Like many penguins, King penguins are known for their black and white feathers, with bold orange and yellow markings on the chest, cheeks, and bill. In 2019, Dutch photographer Yves Adams visited South Georgia Island. When he spotted a group of king penguins swimming in the water, he grabbed his camera and started taking pictures. This was when he noticed that one of them was not like the others. Instead of being black, white, and yellow, it was instead cream, white, and yellow. The penguin is believed to be leucistic, which is a condition that significantly, but not entirely, reduces the amount of melanin an animal produces. This is the first ever record of a penguin displaying leucism in a way that makes it appear to be yellow. And that's it for today's video. Which one did you find the most interesting? Let me know in the comments below. And before you go, please consider helping me out by liking the video and subscribing to the channel. I put out a video like this every week. I need to say a special thanks to my patrons. Without their ongoing support, I wouldn't be able to continue to make regular content. If you want to support the channel, check out the link in the video description below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.